So, ladies and gentlemen, so this is the last conference of the day in many respects. So 4:30 to 5:30. Yes, so we finish on a good note. The theme is predictive analysis, which tools, methods and techniques available to brands. So you know better than I do, we're dealing with fashion, and brands are absolutely key, whatever the conferences and workshops that are organized at this fair. So we're going to be analyzing the brands, because fashion always is about brands, even for products that are not very clearly identified. A brand is something which is absolutely important. This morning we worked on new technologies which allow us to develop the customer experience, and each time we highlighted the importance of brands. So now we're going to talk about predictive analysis, which tools, methods and techniques. So we have the good fortune to have Marilyn Nguyen, Sociovision, and two men, Grégoire Firsch, Quémotion, Augustin Lavagna, who is an independent consultant, and he works with Nelly Rodi amongst others, and is here as a wonderful independent consultant. And then Xavier Lelu, has he arrived, Alice? Comments of Mike. So there are three of you then. So Marilyn, so what is Sociovision? Well, what do you do within Sociovision, and what about predictive analysis? Well, in terms of predictive analysis, we don't do anything. So Sociovision, what this company does is to identify the changes within society. So it looks at how people change in all aspects of their life, whether this is about work or other things. So it's not just about fashion, it's about behavior as well. So our specialty is really people. It's all kinds of people, old, young, etc. Women, and so on, all aspects of their life. When you go home, for example, you tidy up your house, the way you drive your car, etc. Know when you consume things, how you dress, for example, how you eat, when you go to see a health worker. This is what we're interested in. So predictive, yes, we've been following changes for 40 years now. So we can kind of predict what's going to happen in the future. Augustin, you're a consultant, independent consultant. Yes. So thank you for being with us. Well, we've understood what an independent consultant is in terms of predictive analysis. So a person who tries to understand how the various agencies work and consultancies. So perhaps I'll focus on Nelly Rodi, because this is the agency that corresponds most to the theme we're talking about today. So a bit like Marilyn, I would say the first thing is analyzing people's behavior, the current uses, before it becomes, before we're able to forecast things. And we do this sector by sector. We deal with creative sectors, and then the added value is, we have all these specifications, and we try to establish guidelines, not just one guideline, but various guidelines or directives in terms of behavior that is going to appear over the next year, depending on the sector. Thank you, Grégoire Firsch. I have a couple of slides. Could you just say who you are very briefly, and then we'll look at your slides. So I'm one of the co-founders of the startup, Quémotion. So are there many of you? There are about 10 of us. Well, that's not bad. When did you create this then? About 4.5 years ago. And we look at recognition of people's emotions, their feelings, the feelings of an individual. Whatever the subject we talk about, and we had this roundtable on finance, etc. So all these are linked. All these themes are linked, and we always end up talking about emotion. So we talked about augmented reality, virtual reality, but so we're talking about emotions here. Then I'm sorry I interrupted you. So we try to understand the reactions, the feelings of people when they're in a situation of having a consumer experience, when they're actually buying a product, when they're traveling, for example. So when they're going through the customer journey, and in order to do that, we look at the life of the customer, the messages, the feedback, the verbatim messages, all different types of expression, written expression, and this reveals many different emotions, and that's what we use our technology to decipher. So this is what we call the cognitive. Is this what cognitive science is about? Yes, that's part of it. So what are the tools in terms of innovation in order to accompany the fashion brands? Well, recognition of emotions by using this new technology that we have today. So this could be applied in 5 or 10 years, depending on the approach. We have facial recognition technology to identify people's feelings. So this is a bit goes back before us. And then there are approaches like ours, which are based on messages, oral messages. So basically, this is all about computer progress, and this has allowed us to do what we do today, because we can handle very large volumes of data using algorithms and also at analysis speeds which are quite rapid. And this is all due to the modern technology that we have, and it allows us to develop these new approaches, even if in the past we used more conventional approaches. So now we can use this technology for deciphering emotions and feelings off mic. So I had a question. In terms of these emotions, are they deciphered digitally or in real life? Well, we do this through digital channels, so that's the tool that you use then. But you're analyzing the content, yes. So this is numerical written content that we decipher. But it can be in a tweet, for example, on this trade fair. So it can be a tweet that is expressing an opinion on the atmosphere at the trade fair, the security, etc. The people on the stands, the quality of the speakers, for example, and the hosts. So it touches an awful lot of different areas. So this is just to give you an overview. Look at, well, we're going to look at this slide. So we're interested in emotions then, because this is something that makes you stand out from others. So in terms of the memory, the building of a person's memory, people's emotions can last a long time. So this is important for brands. So in the more business side now, well, emotion is an important factor in order to develop loyalty, customer relations, but also in terms of when it comes to decision making and actually purchasing. And so, this is the case of many companies at the moment. So let's look at behavior. Behavior is much wider, much broader. So, or do you just study behavior? So we also study values and motivation. It's not just behavior. So help us to define behavior. We talked about the psychological behavior, but no, we work a lot on motivation as well. So the behavior when a person is purchasing something, the fact that they choose one brand over another. So do you help them to choose a store? Do you analyze that kind of thing? Well, we don't really analyze it at Sosavision, but we do carry out studies when we collect the data. We know that medium has an influence on the way in which people respond. We know that when we have an online questionnaire, we will respond differently to whether we're responding on paper. So when we use digital channels, we tend to be a bit more extreme in our reactions than when we're writing things down on paper. So is this because the paper gives the idea that there'll be a written trace? A very good question. There's a more immediate aspect to it. So So I think that in terms of the social media, we reveal a lot more than we do on paper or in a one-on-one interview. Ah, so you have turned up. Thank you. People told us that you disappeared. You had all kinds of problems. So when we've talked about behavior with your neighbor, so you said that you analyze behavior. You said that people don't have the same attitudes in terms of responding to a questionnaire. So, well, we link all this to values and emotions. So you tend to deal with attitudes, you said, or values and motivation as well. No. Yes, we do. Absolutely. That's right. So this is about perceptions. It's emotional. So the emotional feelings. So you talked about Nelly Rodi. So do you make a distinction between behavior, emotions, and what do you prioritize, or do you put everything? Do you look at everything? So, in terms of what you analyze, well, what is strange is that attitudes are part of a value change, and this goes to emotions, reasoning, expressions. So, this is how attitudes are expressed, and then from these attitudes. Each year, we will kind of interpret what the new behavior will be that corresponds to a certain attitude, that corresponds to an expression, tradition, whatever. So are there changes from year to year? Are there any priorities that emerge year to year? Some things that are more predominant than others? Well, these attitudes are constant. We always have the same grid that we use for analysis. And then after that, it's up to us to detect and define what new behaviors will emerge. It's kind of what these attitudes will embody in terms of product, in terms of marketing strategy, communication campaign, etc., etc. So, Xavier, okay, now that we've got going, can you explain what your company is? And Xavier? Melt. What is Meltwater? Meltwater. Well, we're a company, media company, social intelligence media company. So we look at everything that was online, social media, on the social web, so that we can retrieve all these verbatim messages and interpret them. So basically, you look at verbatim messages. We also do this at the trade fair. We interview people, for example. So we are able to retrieve all those people, whether they're doing it by video, tweet, written methods. So this is information which is available publicly, and then we analyze that information. So so you analyze something which is in the public domain, so at the request of a company, like Crystalline, for example, do you go off into the streets and send out all these questionnaires on the internet? Do you put, do you interview people? No, we don't interview people directly. What we do in terms of our capacity is that we have software, and by connecting on the applications and the social media, so each time that everybody goes and talks about Crystalline, for example, we can tell whether they like this water, if there's too many minerals on it, is it good for babies? Is it easy to open, etc.? Is it something that the price is too high, for example? So all these interpretations, we collect those, and so that we can define the trends.
Now, talking about fashion, but just to return to your bottles, they're all the same, aren't they? Well, I can tell you, I'm not an expert in water bottles, no, but there's a number of things that could be said about it, as I was saying. Well, like the label then. The colour of the label, does that prompt or elicit a response from a consumer? Does that arise an emotion? I don't know, does that remind you of your youth, maybe, when you were a child? Well, we analyse verbatim, flowing from various products, typically a water bottle or something akin to that, and each person through the verbatim are getting across emotions that could be very different. Maybe the taste also of the product, that could have an effect, most definitely. when you said, are there different emotions based on the shape, color? Quite obviously, yes, that goes without saying. And is there a nuance in the reactions, in the responses you retrieve based on the materials or what have you? You analyze the behavior, and you said that an attitude of somebody in a bar, in a shop, or a restaurant, you analyze individuals, but you analyze groups. Let's say when you're in a sports room, a gymnasium, or in a shop or a cinema, what do? You try to isolate individuals at a certain point of time? Well, both, yes, groups and individuals, because it's just as important to know what people are saying when they're in a group. There's social control, there's a peer group effect, there's influence that's exerted upon them, as well as individuals when they're individually interacting with an object. It's important to do both. And what about you? Let's get back to fashion, advertising, communicating around the fashion brand, over and beyond the advice that you can provide today to the various customers that very intelligently come to see your agency. What can you tell us about that? Well, it's a bit of both, really. I think there's two major ways of operating. The first is a bit linked in with what you do data-wise. In other words, we're going to be going to Retech people. Retech is, there was a roundtable with them. Retech, actually, we saw them here twice, in fact. So what do you do then with Retech? Well, with Retech, we try to do this. We try to know what's going on with Instagram. What are the look and feel, the colors, what type of things are going to be associated with the product, and then how things unfold. The hashtags, what's appearing in the stream of information. If you like, currently it's a bit chaos really. It's difficult to analyze and unpick things. If you're going to put Vuitton bag, for example, in a search field, it's difficult really to see what's lying behind that. But with Retech technology, you're going to be able to see what the latest collection is, how it was monitored or tracked, what's been its impact flowing from its advertising campaign and what have you. So what's the ambition? The ambition of the Retech platform is to try and appraise the purchase behavior. Retech does analysis, doesn't it, for brands and customers, but you track things. So what do? You draw tracks, investigative tracks, if you will, that will enable you to provide advice to, I don't know, let's say the leather business, based on product positioning and what have you. Exactly. And a very telling example is that, say, what color or what shape was really tracked at a particular catwalk show. And generally, that will produce a purchase. If the catwalk has gone down very well, the statistics bear out the fact that in the next few months, the collection will go down very well. So we try and analyze the impactful moments in the catwalk show. So that doesn't link into the shape or color of the bag. I suppose that's part of the equation. But reactions, is a kind of maybe a chain reaction. Either, I don't know, maybe a very striking model on the catwalk, let's say. Well, you have to look at reactions on the social networks. Well, that's what we're looking at. Is it behavioral or what have you, marketing studies and what have you, and lots of questionnaires, different channels. But anyway, it's the new technologies that perhaps we're addressing. So what do these provide? What's their value added? We've understood that your work is based on digital platforms to provide additional analyses. Yes, well, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I think it's more difficult today to analyze emotions, feelings, if you will, in real time, rather than on the web. On the web, it's possible, but in real time, to understand somebody's emotions or feelings, I think that's something that still remains a bit difficult. Yes, well, it requires a lot of technology. There's artificial intelligence that enters into the fray. There's machine learning as well. So as times go by, software is able to learn, and in order to, and you can customize that based on the user's desire. So Dior will want something different to Vuitton, let's say, and algorithms are very capable of being improved to that end. But for me, I think what technology is going to provide is that today, thanks to social media, we have never seen so much data available as compared with the past. If you want to speak to 100,000 people about a given topic, it takes time. But today, I can tell you, there are people who want to express their view, they want to post something, they want to air their view, basically, and they felt something, there's been a response, negative or positive or neutral, but at least that provides information, and that information is real time. And that, I can tell you, is a quantum leap for this type of study. You're able, therefore, we're able to retrieve information every time it enters our sphere. We can get that information and process it with software to provide information which is relevant. That's what we do, and this technology needs to be improved upon. But already at this point in time, we can still have insights that we couldn't have from traditional or previously mainstream methods. Now, emotion-wise, of course, we're having them 24/7, aren't we, these feelings? So it really boils down to be able to retrieve, at a given point of time, one reaction, or one feeling, or one experience, if you like, as it relates to a behavior or an act. And that is what we're trying to pick out. And to do a film of your feelings, that, I would say, would be infinite, wouldn't it? You'd be doing it until the cows came home. I mean, you'd have to have a vast array of technology. Sometimes you're saying something, sometimes you're not, sometimes you're feeling something within your body and nobody knows what's going on. And it's extremely complex. But to actually isolate an experience as it relates to a high street shop when you cross the threshold, or maybe when you buy something, or when you re-buy something, or when you touch something, or what have you, that is what we're going to be able to analyze by analyzing the message. And then we're going to be able to, with words, we're going to get right to the heart of what prompted the feeling, whether it's stress, was it fear, or was it anger, because of a welcome, or lack of security, or feeling of safety, or when in the way that you handle a product, what did it elicit in you? It's interesting when you talk about real time, because if somebody is saying, when I went into the high street, that was 2 days ago, so real time, you say real time. You're real time, basically, you're interacting real time with what they write, but not with the actual emotion when it occurred. Well, it depends on the data. A study is done after the fact, often. It can be done, well, yes, there always is a bit of a delay, but a tweet, for example, can be closer to the moment when the experience occurred, or a message or conversation revolving around a chat, or a chat on a forum that's happening in real time. So it really depends on the type of data you're dealing with. And so you get people involved in, you bring them into a shop, do you? Is that what you do? And then you ask them to respond in real time, and then you jot down what they say? Well, I suppose that's more your sphere of activity. With us, we've got technology that's analyzing. We're not retrieving the data. We're not going to retrieve or collect data over the web. We're going to use apparatus such as yours, let's say, or competitors' machines. But we're going to be processing the data, and that's a job in and of itself. And then, based on that, we provide feedback. We get the data, we process the data. That can be done in a few milliseconds, and then we can provide analysis based on the source. There's a real-time process, but maybe the events happened, I don't know, a few days ago, or several months beforehand, or even just a few hours before. So I'm not very expert of anything. I'm jack of all trades and master of none. But I can see that you have different spheres of activity, but you're angling down the same road. You're studying data, you're analyzing the data for brands, but you've got different spheres of activity. But are they interlinked in some way? Are they complementary? I mean, you might do major studies, but I suppose that's what each of you are doing, aren't you? Well, we run recurring observatories, observations for the last 40 years over how France is evolving or changing. We have quantitative data studies. So they're panoramic kind of studies, panorama studies, if you like. Yes, that's right. Or maybe you're funded by major economic players, is that right? To run specific studies, exactly. And then that's published where? Well, it depends on the client, really, because the data is, of course, belongs to the customer. So what's accessible then? Major studies then, is that made public? Is that in the public forum? Yes, but you have to still pay for something. It's on subscription. But I doubt very much that is their vested interest to publish something. At the end of the day, we need to understand people. Even in research centers within businesses, there is a big firewall between the people who are processing their data and, yes, but my feeling is that there's an old world and a new world. Yes, we work on a regular basis with people similar to your business, research centers, for example. And we work with similar players to what you do, and that on a regular basis, it must be said.
No.
Yes, well, there are two types of partners that we have. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. This is off mic. Well, I don't know in terms of ad hoc studies, but generally speaking, so either we work with companies who have panels who can give us information on trips and things like that very quickly. But I think that RETUC more or less corresponds to what you do in terms of deciphering what's going on the social networks. So yes, it's the same thing for us. So we have access to data, and then the way in which we use it and the final purpose, that varies depending on the customer. We work with agencies who analyze this data so that they can do various reporting, more qualitative analysis. So also work with customers who want to do what we call alerting. So this is working on communication issues. Also, we work with agencies, research institutes, marketing agencies, so we try and identify trends. So it's the same kind of thing as RETUC does. And it's the same thing in terms of fashion as well. And this is what our customers want. So basically, we form an interface with all this, the information that we retrieve, and then. Also, we look at the behavior of consumers, what happens at a certain event, for example, and sometimes we can be an interface with the people who analyze this data either physically or with different types of technology. So there are many types of uses and purposes. So I have a question. You talked a lot about social media, but do you do the same thing? Do you have the same approach with the media? So that's our background. So we've been around for about 20 years. The social media were not around at that particular time. So yes, we do retrieve everything that's said in terms of fashion fora. We work with a lot of fashion customers, and their objective is to measure the impact of a fashion show, for example. And what's new? What collection has been presented? What's the impact? So we're talking about impacts that are slightly based on communication, quantitative. So how many influencers have spoken to us? How many articles have been published? Are they positive articles? So it's no longer just about image. So lots of people said, okay, well, there are all these different papers, newspapers, but I think that things have slightly changed now. So yes, this technology that we had every morning. So I was a press attaché, so I got all this information. This was 20 years ago, and but now we've completely changed within the industry. So it's the same. So it's the same issue of the consumer at the end of the day. So in terms of this technology, this new technology, so they don't get rid of the paper exactly, but it's not just about communication. We've added an awful lot of other elements as well. So we do have fixed communication or fixed telephones, but you have a reception, a landline now. Yes, we still have a landline. No, we don't. So it doesn't exist anymore. So one agency we worked with, Zaguez sagas. They also organized their offices in Saint-Ouen, so we didn't have a particular space provided for us. So you did flex office in, yes, okay, this is wonderful, but everybody gets on everybody's way. But so depending on what time you arrive, you put your things in a locker, but there was just one office which was locked. So I said, well, he said to me, can we use that? But it's the human resources office. So all these different technologies that you have mentioned, that you analyze, do they eliminate what was done before, or do they just do things differently? So now you deal with social media, but you still do the press review, you still do a press file. So I don't think that they eliminate what was done before, but they do things slightly differently, and they do things a bit more responsively. We still have the press review, but we still have somebody to get up 6 o'clock in the morning, so somebody to analyze what's going on in the press. But it's a bit easier to share and to analyze for a trade fair like this. It allows us to see how we talk about the different activities, so we can talk about the top stands that have worked the best, how Avantex is going to use this communication. So the same thing for us. So we work in cosmetics as well. So if you want to look at the new trends in terms of skincare, before we would have looked at this in magazines or stores, but now we can look at this on the internet. But also we can ask somebody to take and retrieve this data, and then once it's structured, we can analyze it. So we can look at everything that's been said on a brand, everything that's been said on the social networks. So it's exactly the same thing as you. So I think this allows us to do things that we couldn't do before. So it's more data, which is processed more quickly. So for the fashion brands that are so sensitive and have to be responsive, as you said before, we have tools now which perform much better, which are much more responsive. They're much more fun as well in terms of the analysis. Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So people who have to analyze the reaction of such and such a cream on a skin, for example. So yes, we're able to process very large volumes of data and messages very quickly. So humanly speaking, this normally would take a lot of time, depending on the situation. And then we have a very sophisticated analysis, very in-depth analysis of all the different themes and subjects that have been looked at. But that's quite difficult to do. So that's just a very small part of it. But the idea was that it took one person 10 days to do that, whereas now it takes 3 days for a machine to do it, or 3 minutes to do it. So 3 minutes is much better then. So it has to be, however, some human intervention as well. So is there one particular sector where you use your skills? Sorry, comments off mic. Services as well, lots of interaction there between the customers, the bank, for example, transport, travel agencies, everything that concerns leisure. So everything that goes on in an airport, for example, yes, and then all the retail sector as well. So there's a lot of emotions exchanged when you're in contact with other people. So where we're in places like this trade fair, when you meet new people, of course, meeting new people generates a lot of emotions. In the human interactions as well. So yes, and so yeah, we deal in those fields and sectors where there's a lot of human interaction. So in terms of emotions, sorry, these comments are off mic. So yes, I share exactly what you say. For me, the very peak of emotions is when there's a physical interaction. So I hadn't actually come to that conclusion myself, but in terms of services, we work a lot more there than in packaging or things that are much more kind of down to earth. The things that are industrial, for example, industrial processes, they generate much less emotion. So I'm not sure about that because we are interested in sustainable environment, and we're looking a lot at industry as well because they can express very strong emotions. There are emotions all over machines and tools. Of course, it's much less attractive than certain fashion products. So you have emotions and reactions which are linked to a particular brand. For example, if you take a recycling company, so that can generate emotion. But well, this is rather good what you said. There's one which is called Pabrec. They're a European leader. And what they do is absolutely wonderful. They treat waste, but they don't do a lot of communication. So what I'm getting at, but you have a lot of communication from Suez and Veolia, for example. Veolia and Suez do an awful lot of communication. They're in the same kind of business, so it's not particularly linked to a given industry. So EDF, it was very difficult for them to find the right angle. So in terms of emotion, when you press the button to have your electricity, there's very little emotion. But when there's a storm and damage, when you wake up at night and there's a massive storm, then that can produce a lot of emotion.
C'est un bon exemple. Je pense aussi à des gens comme.
So I'm thinking about companies like Vinci. You can find emotions everywhere, in fact. Vinci. Well, they also. So I'm not sure that they express. There's an awful lot of emotion between them and their customers. Okay, let's go back to my question. The fashion industries, are they the ones that consume the most because they produce the end products? So there's the act of actually buying, which is prepared on internet, in a catalogue, for example, or an advert that you've seen in a magazine. So you go into the store, you buy the product. So what's the difference between actually desiring a product and possessing it in terms of the human behavior? Well, this can behavior that is changing increasingly. But to answer your question, the luxury fashion brands, for example, these are customers who want a lot of information because, of course, the money involved is huge, and there's a lot of communication that's done, communication campaigns, and so the more data you have, the more you can optimize your campaign so that you reach the right target through the right channel, etc. And then it's an industry which has to be very creative as well. So the more you can identify potential consumers. If you want to know what's going on with young people, so if you really try to capture this type of future trend, these are things that you can use on your mood board in the luxury fashion industry.
So those are industries that operate mainly through their image, through emotions, and increasingly you can, Instagram, for example, I mean, lots of pictures that go over internet, video material, and all that means that you can flesh out what people think. Yes, but what you said was very interesting. You said it's not what was said, but who is saying it. That's of interest, isn't it? Well, yeah, absolutely. All marketing work, you need to be sure that you've properly targeted what is your target audience. You know, who's buying? I mean, or you want to reach another set of people? And then you've got studies, you've got behavioral studies, how to reach or how to build an audience, so that you can have an upstream strategy from product to design all the way down to customer service. Of course, that really matters. What I find interesting in what you're saying is that in fashion and in premium brands, there's more risk in the reaction, in raising an emotion with your target audience. Many brands have got it wrong, I think, in that very sector. They've got it wrong. They've put their foot wrong, and they've had to ask forgiveness, if I can put it that way, And that's not something that you see in many sectors. You can get a product wrong or a campaign wrong, but you can't get it wrong so blatantly and miss something, fly by. What do you think, Augustin? Well, yes, I mean, sometimes you can get it very, very wrong. And that's true in the luxury world. Yes, I mean, training and marketing, training in marketing uses these casebook examples because they haven't really studied the context or what they're dealing with, and it's been badly construed, badly interpreted, the data that they have collected. What about our friends around us in the audience? Any questions to be put to the lady and the gentleman on the round table? Any questions you'd like to put? The gentleman there, who's been following faithfully what we've been saying for the last hour or so. You don't have to, of course, put a question. But if you'd like to, yes, tell us who you are and what you do. Are you a researcher or what have you? Paris Village, I work with Xavier Meltwater. Here's a question for everybody. What advice, what hands-on advice would you give to a fashion brand so that it could properly understand its customers? What would Xavier say? Well, there's lots of solutions. Quite clearly, it's not with Meltwater that we're going to be alone in providing an answer. Well, you've got good teams, haven't you? Excellent, excellent. We're very, very well staffed. But one of the winning formula is to really understand what consumers want. What do your clients want? That's what's of interest. That was the question I was going to ask you. Do people know what they want? I think people don't necessarily always know what they want, but they're able, as we said earlier on, we talked about emotions and feelings. We're able to know whether we like something, and the next bag you want to buy, and you know that you're going to hate that type of color or that type of material, fabric. There's lots of information that we can retrieve. The more you can get, the more precise idea you have of what is the target audience that you wish to serve. But we also know what we don't want, and they know what they don't want. So you don't want to buy animal origin product, maybe, let's say. Yes, some codes that are bandied around, we know that we don't want. I don't know. And through customers, we can get that information from them, or more broadly from industry as a whole. We know full well, for example, that maybe to have a less perfect picture of women in advertisement, that's something that's not necessarily picked up upon. I only saw this last week, in fact. I think there was a brand that announced that it was changing how its models were going to appear. They were going to have shorter models, let's say, and they were making an effort in that way, and having fatter models, fatter women. But maybe they got that wrong, because they thought that 40 or 42 was a size that was oversized, but that's the average size of your average Joe in the street. So maybe, I don't know who launched that initiative, but anyway, we've understood that, but we're not going to show models in size 36, but in 40. But of course, 36, you never see a woman who's 36. Wears 36. Well, it's a good intention, I suppose, but it went off the rails. Maybe the way they... Well, I think this trend is trying to make people inclusive, body positivity, I think it's called. That whether women are short, fat, or tall, or whatever, doesn't matter, or bald, for that matter. They're trying to be inclusive, but because it's less expensive if you're bald with shampoo. But the problem is, it excludes people. I mean, I think we need, that really means that we need all you around the table. Well, we need lots of people. We need to have a good team. You need to be well staffed to address the problem we deal with. I think the more information you have, the more access you have to data, then the more you're able to make informed decisions. Yes, so information in fashion industry, this is where you operate, of course. Very clearly, people are talking about hemp and biosourcing, and we talked yesterday about a virtual world, but there's a lack of information. People are trying to get information every which way. Talking about sustainability, for example. People don't have exact or accurate information. label on a garment, for example. People don't understand what the information on that label. Consumers don't have enough information, or they can't access the information. Yes, the consumer knows they want what they want to know, but they don't know how to get from A to B. If we ask him, he'll say, well, no, that's exactly what I want. I want something that's bio, etc., or organic. Are you going to buy it? Well, they say, well, no. And that's the problem. There's a gap, if you will, between what they say they want and their behavior, which I suppose explains the success of all these apps. Yuka, Close Parency, for example, which for foodstuffs, for cosmetics, and for fashion as well. Yes, that's right. And I think this is going to spread into all creative industries. I think we talked about transparency in one of my roundtables, which is crucial, so it's paramount. But as always, no doubt, this is highly subjective, isn't it? What is transparency? Local manufacturing, for example. Yes, you have to, people know they want transparency. I mean, you have to know what's sitting behind that word in people's minds. Well, thanks very much. Thanks to all your explanations, things are more transparent. And fortunately, dealing with you, I understand. No doubt if I understand, other people do, and certainly the audience. So thanks very much, Xavier, Grégoire, Marilyn, Augustine. Thanks very much for spending an hour with us around this table. Every day, these conferences are held. Tomorrow, we'll be hearing from pitches who make new initiatives available, and then there will be a mingling or networking meeting. Thanks very much, Augustine. Thanks very much for returning to the round table. We've seen you before, as others around this table. Thanks again, and see you soon. Thank you very much.